Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is 3 events that will mark the start of the tribulation. I mean, that's one of the main things everybody wants to know. Are we in the tribulation? What do we look for before the tribulation starts? And before I get started with the new information I have, let me just give you my list. These are things I'm personally watching for. I'm not convinced that the tribulation has started yet. Why? Well, I haven't seen a confirmed covenant that I felt like was the start of the tribulation yet. Maybe it has, but I haven't seen one. I mean, for absolute positively sure. Also, I have not seen the third beast, which is the four Arab nations linked together. I've not seen a world government form. I've not seen one of the heads of that European world government overcome 3 others, as Daniel chapter 7 says. I've not seen a world digital currency linked to Starlight tied into the quantum computers. I've not seen a half man, half alien linked to quantum computers. There's still a lot of things that I'm watching for, but I've got some information for you today. I think you're going to find this very believable. Okay, now, let me start with a bit of good news. Now, this is back in 2021, but it's some good news. Dana Coverstone had this dream. He said, I saw a nursery with hundreds and hundreds of babies. There were about 15 to 20 nurses caring for them. One would hold a baby to stop it from crying, but how to put it down to run to another. The Lord was saying that there's many about to be saved. I think that's true. I think that before the Antichrist is totally released, now I don't know if that's in the start of the tribulation or the middle of the tribulation, but there's going to be a great revival. And that's what he's saying, and that's what I have long thought. Okay, so anyway, let's go on. A lot of fruit are coming. A great harvest is about to arrive. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. I was seeing thousands of frightened people. So many of the workers could not handle the newborn baby Christians new to the kingdom. That's good news. They were changing diapers, feeding them, rocking them, trying to quiet and comfort these infants. There were thousands of like day-old babies, new converts into the faith. The Lord was saying there's about to be an incredible harvest, an incredible amount of fruit to be brought into the kingdom. There's not going to be enough people to disciple and to help and to encourage and teach and lead and guide them. That's you and I. Again, God has told me to raise up an army of end-time prophecy teachers working miracles, working sevenfold miracles. All right, now, on to the new information. So I got this a while back, and I've kind of put it on the shelf just to kind of let it settle in my spirit, see if it's accurate. And I think you'll agree it's accurate. And it's by James Bailey. First vision, global collapse. He said, the first vision opened, and I was standing on the edge of every city. I saw people flooding the sidewalks, crowding in front of banks. Now, we've heard this before. I'll show you. Banks yelling, crying, and some pounding their fists on locked doors. The lines stretched for blocks. Some held checkbooks, debit cards, even passports, but none of it mattered because their bank accounts, I hope you're listening, bank accounts had vanished. That's why you want to consider getting gold and silver, 800, 200 gold. Their bank accounts had vanished. Phones displayed empty balances. ATMs were offline, and even credit cards were being declined in stores. Not the first person that said this, more like about the 4th or 5th person. Need to count up how many I've got. Now, let's take a second and think about that. So if that were to happen, where would that leave you? I would like to tell you some information that I have. But again, I have signed a non-disclosure agreement. It gets me lots of trouble. And if I were to say some of these things. But I have some good reasons, not concrete reasons, but I have some good reasons to believe that this new system he's about to talk about, that this new system is very close. That's probably all I can say. In other words, don't throw this out the window. Don't discount this. Don't think, oh, yeah, blah, blah, someday. I think it's close. All right, now, let me go on. I didn't understand what I was seeing at first. Then Jesus said, "This is the fall of the global system." Do you think the dollar is real strong right now? Do you think? I think he'd agree. Probably not. I mean, with all these tariffs and everything, I think we're on shaky, shaky ground. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. It's 3 or 4 pages. I just want to read this one page, and then we're going to go back to the dream that we were just reading. April 24, Brandon Biggs. I was praying and I saw a flagpole with a $100 bill flying as it were a flag. I saw it change to a digital code. I can think of 2 others. That Taylor, I think, was one, and Coverstone also had one. It was digital, like crypto writing on it. I said, "Lord, what are you trying to show me?" He said, "The dollar's about to turn into a digital dollar." We got several people saying that. Digital dollar. And it'll be worth half what it is now. Coverstone saw that it went down 30%, 30%, and then Shane Warren saw it worthless as leaves blowing in the wind. He showed me all banks seized the money inside them. It was like a bailout. All right, now let's go back to the first one. It wasn't just an economic crash. It was something deeper, more permanent. A new financial order. Let me say it again. I would like to say more, okay? I know more. I can't say more. But I'll just repeat this because I know it and believe it to be true. And I know it and believe it to be very close. I've been watching for this for 12 years now, okay? A new financial order began to rise from the ashes. And I watched as billboards changed overnight. And that's what they all say. There's no warning. It's an instant change. Changed overnight, announcing a digital identity system that promised peace of mind, security, and freedom from chaos. People rushed to register without question. No one asks where it came from. In other words, where did the money come from that they're giving away? Now, others have said what they have seen. Remember, the one kid, the 11-year-old kid, said he saw it looked like a cell phone, but you couldn't play games on it, couldn't make phone calls, and it's what you used to buy and sell. Others saw that they opened it when you went down to register and you gave them your identity, your bio identity, your fingerprints, your retina scan, your DNA, your voice print, your face print. When you give them all of that, then they open an account for you and they put a large amount of money in there. Let's say it's $50,000, maybe it's $100,000 in account, but you got to sign up. That's the way they've seen it happen. And we don't know what the amount that would be in the account, but let me ask you. So all of the banks take all of your money, then they offer a new digital account, but you got to go in and give your biometrics, got to give who you are, identify yourself and a passport and all that sort of stuff. But then let's say they give you $100,000. Everybody that opens up a new account, how many people would resist that? People rush to register without question. No one asked where it came from. The money. No one asked, "Where'd you get this money?" They just wanted to say, "Well, see, I know. I shut up, Stan. I can't say more. I'm just telling you what I'm reading today is not a joke. Okay, take it serious." People rushed to register without question. No one asked where the money came from. They just wanted safety. The most heartbreaking part was I saw churches joining in. Pastors encouraging their congregations to sign up. Believers, people who had worshiped and prayed for years, were now standing in line with everyone else, thinking they were just adopting to a new normal. I turned to Jesus and asked, "Why don't they see what this is?" He looked at me and sat with a sadness in his eyes and said, "This is the first sign. It will arrive when the world thinks it has recovered." Okay, recovered from what? We're about to see a dollar fall. That shouldn't be hard to believe. I don't think it is, okay? Second vision. As this vision faded, I felt a trembling under my feet. I was shown the second event. Now, that trembling may be that earthquake. I don't know. At first, it looked like war bombs dropping, tanks rolling through the streets, people screaming and fleeing. In other words, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Before they can bring in a new system, they have to break the old system. And they have to get people really scared in order for them to go along with the new system so they can have peace again. It's all part of it, okay? People were screaming and fleeing. Then something changed. The explosions stopped. Hands were shaking. Leaders from different countries were smiling for the cameras. Why, it looked like peace. What does the Bible say about peace? For when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction shall come upon them, and they shall not escape. Let me read that again. Leaders from different countries were smiling for the cameras. It looked like peace had finally come, but Jesus leaned close and whispered, "Watch closely." I looked again and saw what was hidden between the smiles. These weren't peace deals born from love or repentance. These were born from ambition, manipulation, and fear. World government. Nations that were enemies for generations now became allies. Old flags, remember Brandon Briggs saw a new flag. Old flags were lowered and replaced with new ones that carried unfamiliar symbols. I showed you what the new flag looks like, and it has the star. It has the stripes, the red and white stripes, the same, and it has 50 stars, but they're not lined up like across. Okay, they're all in a circle. Okay, so we think we know what the new flag will even look like. I could feel in my spirit that these changes weren't what they seemed. They were the mask of peace covering something evil. I saw churches all over the world celebrating, worship teams singing louder than ever. Why? Why wouldn't churches know this? Well, because they don't know Bible prophecy. Well, why don't they know Bible prophecy? Because they've been told they don't have to know it, because they're going to go in a pre-trib rapture, right? Okay. Worship teams singing louder than ever. Pastors preaching about a new season of unity. Believers waving flags, cheering in the streets. But I could see what they couldn't. I saw a compromise. Oh, surely the churches wouldn't compromise, right? They're already compromised, in my opinion. All of those new compromise Bibles, like the NIV, the not inspired version, and other things like that. A quiet compromise slipped into their sermons, softening the truth, replacing repentance with reassurance. Then Jesus spoke again. This is not peace from above. This is peace built on deception. It is the calm before the storm. Some believers were cautious. I could see it in their eyes, but most were simply swept away by the moment. They wanted to believe these things, finally getting better. I understood it's human to want to believe that, but what I saw next broke my heart. The ones who had warned their churches were silenced. Me and you better get used to it. You better expect it. I'll read it again. The ones that were warning their churches were silenced. They were called negative, conspiratorial, even dangerous. The true body of Christ was being pushed to the edge. Then Jesus said, "This is the second sign, and it will deceive many, even many of those who once walked closely with me. The last days, there should be a great deception. I'll send them a great deception, so that all those who do not come to the knowledge of the truth would believe a lie and be damned. There'll be a great falling away." Okay. Third vision, great shaking. The third vision started with the earth. It began to groan beneath me as the entire planet was crying out. Then I saw it, natural disasters unfolding in terrifying succession. Earthquakes in cities that had never seen earthquakes. Tsunamis crashing into coastlines without warning. Violent storms twisting across the land. It kind of sounds like what's been happening the last few years. But ain't nothing compared to what's coming. Floods swallowing neighborhoods and wildfires that moved like they had a mind of their own. They do. It's called scalar wave. Scalar wave can destroy anything in the air, on the land, on the sea, under the sea, any place on the globe, and perhaps even any place in the universe anytime it wants to. They can make large areas of the atmosphere or the earth or the water super hot or super cold. We think that that's what took out the Thresher submarine in the 60s. We think that's what shot down Gary Powers in the U-2 spy plane, because he said, "I was flying along. I didn't see a missile." He says, just all of a sudden, sparks started to fly from my instruments, and my plane just simply stopped moving forward and started falling like a rock. It wasn't random. It was like someone had pulled a thread and everything was unraveling. People didn't know how to react. Scientists were scrambling to explain what was happening. Politicians were giving speeches promising order would return, but their words fell flat. And as things got worse, something else emerged, a solution, a new system that combined global safety. What's that? World government, world. Look, we're looking for three things: world government, world religion, and world financial system. But their words fell flat. As things got worse, something else emerged, a system, a new system that combined global safety, health, and information into one. I watched as people lined up to register their families, scan their hands. I told you, biometrics. Verify their identities for emergency response purposes. They thought it would protect them, but they were walking straight into total control. Remember what Kissinger said? He who controls food controls people. He who controls energy can control whole continents. But he who controls money can control the world. That's where this is going. You think this is God? I think you realize it's God. Which, by the way, click like, share, and subscribe. Send this out to other people. Then I saw something even more chilling. The church was once again divided. Some stood strong, warning that this was the fulfillment of prophecy, but others mocked them, called them fearmongers, and welcomed the new system, calling it wise stewardship. I saw believers looking into the government for help instead of God. Their Bibles were gathering dust, while their eyes were fixed on the news headlines. It was subtle but deadly. Faith was being replaced by fear wrapped in convenience. Jesus stood beside me through all of it, and I could feel his heart breaking. This is the third sign, and it is shaking everything that is not rooted in me. He showed me homes where families clung to prayer and scripture. Even as the lights went out and food ran low, these were the ones he called faithful. He said they would be protected, not always from hardship, but from deception. And then he said, tell them, warn them, the time is short. So will you send this link out to all of your email list? Will you click like, share, and subscribe so the algorithm will send it out to other people? His promise. As the final vision faded, then I heard Jesus speak one more time. But this time it wasn't a warning. It was a promise. He said, tell them that I love them, that I have not abandoned them, that even when the world shakes, my kingdom cannot be shaken. Now, let me go to another. I say I'm going to have time to do this. It's called the Coming Conservative Purge. Back in 2021, Coverstone had this dream. He began to go into a doctor's office at a local clinic, being informed that the level of pneumonia that I had at the time, I could expect to be healed completely from it. The doctor informed me that the specialist would be in to see me in a moment, and I should begin to fill out the medical information, screening, and all that sort of stuff. The room darkened, and the screen revealed running taglines saying things like, avoid the unvaccinated. I know what you're thinking. Oh, wait a minute. This is talking about COVID. This is back 2021. Well, it is true. This was during the COVID times. But you remember I told you an audible voice told me two men would get on a plane with a virus, and before the plane can land, everyone on board would be dead. In other words, there is another really big, bad virus coming. So is this talking about 2021? Yeah. But see, the problem is history repeats. It has to. Nobody listens. Avoid the unvaccinated. These people are dangerous. Please inform authorities of all sightings. Then the screen showed a group of about 8 people running along a ditch near a field of corn that had not been harvested yet. See, this has not happened yet. This probably is in the near future. Near a field of corn that had not been harvested yet, they carried backpacks and several large brown earth tarps. In other words, the tarps were to cover their body because people searching for them were looking for body heat, infrared. The sun was setting. They had 2 scouts closely watching ahead of them and 2 scouts behind them. When the lights appeared on the road in either direction, they quickly ran into the field about 30 feet, covered themselves with a tarp, laid extremely still. Why? So they couldn't be found by their heat. No movement, no noise was made until the vehicle was well by them. It was a coordinated effort among the people, including children and dogs. As the threat passed, the people emerged. They ran straight ahead until they came to a T in the road. Scouts on the other side of the road, near the railroad, flashed lights telling them it was clear to cross. They all ran quickly. Once they reached the ditch, a light blinked from the window of the garage of a home. By now it was dark, so the scouts started quietly moving, a few people at the time. They had to lay as flat on the ground as possible. The group crawled through the window just as it closed. Helicopters with searchlights searched the area they just left. In other words, they had already been spotted, probably from drone or from satellite, but they sent the helicopter out to round them up. The scene changed to an EMS alert. The signal blared loud with a reporter saying martial law had been declared. Anyone caught outside after 7 p.m. would be arrested and taken to the local COVID Authority Bureau. Okay, switch names. It's coming again. For processing and fined up to $10,000. The reporter kept saying, if you see something, say something. Safeguard your community from dangerous assailants. Do your country proud. Turn them in. The screen changed back to people being hogged. Let's see. We didn't see this during COVID. Okay, did he miss? Or was it beginning in COVID and it's continuing in the next big pandemic? I think it's continuing. The screen changed back to people being hogtied, thrown into the back of cattle trucks, and hauled off. The people inside were yelling and screaming at the handlers. The handlers were all well armed. They used electric shock cattle prods to shock the people to back up. The scene changed again to be a medical laboratory. Professionals were wearing white lab coats and face shields were watching a large glass tube the size of a hot tub filled with a red substance which appeared to be blood. It was thick and had light and lasers shining into it. It churned as if it was boiling, and it slightly changed with a bright, dark blood appearance. There were 4 people strapped to the beds, held down by their necks, chests, hips, feet, and hands. They had no fear, but were obviously sick, inflamed, and dying. One of the lab people dipped a pitcher into the vat of this blood-looking substance and poured it into 4 smaller cups. There was 1 caretaker for each person. They poured a few drops on each person's forehead. Each person started moving and moaning a bit and then were asked how they felt. One older lady said she felt pain leaving her hip and began to laugh, then suddenly started convulsing and screaming and died as her heart monitor was beeping furiously. The caretaker made notes on a chart and did not seem one bit alarmed at her death. The next 2 men were young and shaking nervously. One said he was feeling heat in his chest, another in his spirit. Suddenly his mind snapped and suddenly he had a stroke and stopped moving. The caretaker took notes and covered the young man's face with a sheet. By now the 3rd young man was shaking so uncontrollably he was shaking the bed. He was going in and out of consciousness. The caretaker to him had been taken to a secondary observation room, as they seemed to have had some success there. The last young lady begged them not to do anything more to her. The caretaker gave her a shot, at which she had a stroke and died. The caretaker made a nod. The screen went blank. The man I see so often said to him, I take it that you are the specialist. You are right, and I will explain what you've seen if you would like to understand. And I simply said, please. He said, you're seeing the present future. Okay. In other words, this is what is planned in the present future, but I think it's going to be recurring again. And the coming Conservative Purge. See, it talks about what was happening then, but then it starts talking about in the future, a coming Conservative Purge. We haven't seen a coming Conservative Purge. Now, Stan, when do you think that happens? Okay, my best guess is this. The fall of America starts with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. My best guess is the fall of America starts with the Democrats overcoming the Trump administration. When the Trump administration, here's what I think is going to happen. I think Trump is going to have massive arrests. He's going to attempt to clean America. But when it doesn't work, all of a sudden the evil rises up and begins killing Christians left and right. That's what it's talking about. The Conservative Purge. The Antichrist spirit is here, and yet they begin to make the purchase to deceive the world with healing blood that will mock the blood of Christ. This blood is not as my blood and will never heal or forgive or restore, but they must make it appear to have power even if it's empty. Yet many will claim and empty their will to declare its worthless virtue. You must stay braced. Every believer is about to have their bracing revealed and the foundation uncovered. As the specialist, I warn you to take the salve for your eyes. That's straight out of Revelation 18, 19. Stay fully sober as the days arrive for the testing of your life. Wine is sin. The day may be the tribulation. The testing of your life is the mark of the beast. He then touched my forehead, leaving an ashen mark with his fingerprint in it. Then he reached into his left pocket with his right hand and took out some small white cloth and wiped it off. I am marking those who are mine, and I will walk beside them in the fire, even though some of you here in this country will meet me soon on the other side. Now, what is that? Well, the whole thing here has been talking about some kind of a big bad pandemic, disease or something. So we can take that. We can also probably take that as suitcase nukes. Who knows how bad it's going to get? He grabbed my hand and squeezed until I could feel his goodness and virtue coming into my body. Then he said, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you a crown of life." The test of your life. Don't take don't worship the beast. Don't take his image, his mark, or the number of his name. We're having a prophecy, healing, and deliverance conference. Now, this is only at our small church. There's only 100 people, room for 100 people. So if you want to go, you got to go to prophecyclub.com. Click on this right here, over here on the right. See the red arrows pointing. Click on that, and it'll take you back over to this where you can register. It tells you all about it. Now, if you've been with Prophecy Club for a while, you know that these used to be an organization that we sponsored. Then Joseph Kitchen came along, so we dropped this one. But there's been a need to bring this one back. So what's the difference? This is wheat berries that you grind up and make your own homemade whole wheat bread. This is food that comes in a bucket. You just add water. Some of them you have to add boiling water, and you make your own food. So there's different kinds of food. So if you want this kind of food, you go to heavensharvest.com, heavensharvest.com. Use the promo code prophecy, get you a 10% discount. josephskitchen.com. 3 steps. First, you want to get a machine package. Second, you want to order 6 ingredients and watch some videos, download the recipes to be able to make the bread. josephskitchen.com.